The last time I was super excited for a Halo game to come out was Halo 3 that released on the Xbox 360 in 2007. I picked up an Xbox 360 Elite console with a copy of it, and I completed the campaign and went straight into multiplayer. Right after that, life just happened. I was working 50 to 60 hours with mandatory overtime and didn't have time for video games. I remember when ODST came out, then Reach, Halo 4 and so on. I always had a pulse on the franchise, especially when they moved it from Bungie onto 343 Industries. This was a beloved franchise to me. To pass this mantle onto another team, I felt a little disappointed, but these things happen and we have to move on, especially when we have no control over it. In 2017, I finally was in a position to pick up a beloved hobby of mine, which was to play and dissect video games, and when Infinite came out, I was all caught up to the story and much of the lore thanks to the power of the internet. Is a campaign to Halo Infinite worth it? Well, I'm Andrew, and let's get into this. As a disclaimer, I'm going to display early story elements and show early level gameplay which covers up to 25% of completion of the game. When 343 released gameplay demo back in 2020, I probably watched this demo about 20 times. No kidding. The hype was real for me. I even got my buddies back into the franchise that were OG fans back on the original console. I would pause after a couple frames of video, analyze what I was seeing. By this time, I was following some YouTubers such as Same Token to get a good understanding of the lore and Actman, how he broke down what we were seeing. It was exhilarating because I was getting hyped over a video game. Then, the inevitable delay was announced that 343 didn't feel the game was in a state to be released with the Series X on holiday 2020 and was pushed back a whole year. You bet I was disappointed hearing the news. For a couple of days, I still continued rewatching the demo but moved on. I understand game development because I did go to school for game development and have released smaller games myself. I also understand you can't release a broken game where it kills the franchise and the trust of the public. Emotionally, I was not happy with the news, but logically, I prefer a year delay than a broken game that I'll drop because I can't even enjoy it. When Infinite got gold status that they can't release on time, I went ahead and pre-ordered the standard game as this was the only version available due to the special edition being sold out, but regardless, I was happy because it came with some DLC skins and a tin case which I still have sealed. During my lunch break, I rushed to Best Buy, picked up my pre-ordered copy, rushed back home to install the game, to find out the full game is not on the disc. How is this possible that the base version of the game is not on the disc? I think for most people, this doesn't matter, but I'm a physical game collector. I will opt and willing to pay a little more because I want the case, instructions if they come with it, and the disc so I can install offline and play when I want. I understand day one patches are an industry standard now, but to me this was not acceptable not to have version 1.0 on the disc. At this point I was beginning to get really worried about the game and the state of the release. Multiplayer released a couple weeks early where I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, but it was in an unplayable state. I had believed in my core that the campaign would not be like this and stopped playing after several game-breaking bugs. When I popped the game into my console, it automatically downloaded about a 1 GB file. I thought this was great as I already had the multiplayer side installed. Game booted up and you know what? There was a separate in-game menu. Why is it being so difficult to install the campaign? Why couldn't the auto download install the campaign automatically when I inserted the campaign disc? I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking and should be grateful, but it was just an odd user experience for these type of things. When I looked at my younger self, I would have never really thought about it, but being as an adult where I professionally design and develop end user applications, it's things I naturally see and want to push things better than they already are. Finally, after several installs, the game is ready. I prepare for this event just like someone would prepare for the Super Bowl. I made sure I have snacks on hand, eat a good meal, and plenty of drinks. Was all this trouble worth it? Back in my mind, I no doubtably worried. I mean, look at Cyberpunk 2077. A game I wanted to be successful and look at what kind of launch they had. But this is Halo. A franchise I know that polishes their work and releases to ensure their fans are not disappointed. Does 343 carry the same type of culture that Bungie did? Knowing what happened with Halo 5 and MCC, they didn't. And a precursor to what we do, we can look at history itself. Still, I believe down to my core, 343 would not let this happen. No, Microsoft would not allow this to happen after how they willingly let that happen with the last gen console and Halo 5. As I sit back in the dark with the open cinematic starts, in my mind I'm like, hell yeah, this is happening. Master Chief is on the UNSC Infinity battling the Banished. He utilizes his grapple hook and shows you him grappling a weapon with it. This is neat because it's a mini tutorial, then all of a sudden Chief gets his butt handed to him. We all have to start somewhere, and already knowing that there's a progression system that Master Chief can upgrade, it's expected that he loses most of his abilities and the player needs to regain them. We're introduced to Esparza, the pilot to the Pelican who found Master Chief. Halo Infinite just opens with a lot of details that took me a couple of views to digest. Entering the first level is magic. It's finally here after all this time. Movement feels great. When shooting grunts and how your shots connect when you perform a headshot just feels so good, especially with feedback going to the player when you know you neutralize the target. Your reticle notifies you and it feels so natural. Titanfall 2 did something similar with how their shots connected. Suddenly, everything I was worried about dissipated. You know 343 made sure to take diligent care of this level. I messaged a couple friends to give them an update as I had to take a break from this overwhelming excitement. Judging previous Halo games, I knew it would take me between 5 to 8 hours to beat, so I was hoping to extend that gameplay by playing it on Legendary and taking full advantage of the open world aspect. As of the time of this video, co-op is not present, so my friends and I would share battle stories and progress updates, sharing videos and screenshots of the cool Easter eggs 343 included. It was the best we can do collaborating while playing the campaign, because that's what we're here for while 343 cleans up the multiplayer, more specifically custom games, as the last time I played it, it was an unplayable state, and I'll cover later on. The grapple shot is a welcome addition. Link from Breath of the Wild has a sail to navigate, while Master Chief has a grapple hook. You can scale any terrain, building, and even enemies where you deliver a powerful melee attack to them. As you upgrade your grapple shot, the more effective it becomes, the more effective Master Chief becomes. Now you can shock enemies and grapple shot charges faster so you can even quickly escape any dangerous situation. Scaling ledges when you jump is taken from Doom 16 and it works perfectly here. If you need a vehicle, Esparza performs an airdrop onto the fob location you're at. More often than you think, the AI for the Marines struggle here as they jump in the way of danger where they accidentally get splattered by Esparza's airdrop. It's pretty cool how you spawn vehicles, as Esparza performs no finesse, just drop off the package and leave. This is a minor spoiler regarding a skull on Island 1, but you were warned ahead of time, but on the tower, you find a skull. What's even more cool is you find a mic, an album cover, and a band schedule that the Banished had. It's my impression that during their free time, some of the Banished enjoyed live music and maybe even the genre of metal. This is one prime example, but you see these type of things littered across the world. An Easter egg I really don't understand, but why should I? Anyways, it was a game arcade that appears after you clear an area. I was not able to play it, but I thought this was really neat and I love things like this. This gives me incentive to not only play the game for the story, but to go out of my way to experience this. I remember on Doom 3 on the OG Xbox, there was an arcade game that you can interact with. It was simple, but the fact that the developers added this in made me forever remember things like this. Throughout the world, you find data pads from both the UNSC and Banished that share the experience of chaos and gives you even more incentive to collect these pieces to put the story together outside of 4-story cinematics. Here's a little hint. Banished data pads are found in Banished controlled bases, where UNSC data pads are typically found in hidden camps. And what's really attractive to me regarding to the UNSC data pads is that you could kind of piece together what it was like for the Marines camping out in these hidden areas. Some camps you'll find sleeping bags, communication stations, hull repair kits, and MREs, which are meal ready eats that's typically issued to troops on the field. These little details make me wonder of the struggles that these Marines went through while battling the Banished. Same goes for the Banished, as they have camps that were abandoned. Instead of MREs, they're roasting what looks like chickens. These little surprises are welcome, and I look forward to finding more of them. In my head, it makes me piece together what was going on. Where did the Marines go, or was it more than just Marines? When we examined the UNSC Infinity, it was stations with thousands of personnel, not just Marines, but with sailors, intelligence specialists, and even civilians. As you explore the world, you see UNSC escape pods, so naturally I think there's more than Marines escaping. There has to be civilians, scientists, and sailors hiding somewhere. You also come across collectibles that can be found in various locations such as crash sites, campsites, and what looks like little strongholds that are not quite forward operating bases. These collectibles are Spartan cores, which give you the ability to upgrade Master Chief's abilities, and also lockers to provide your player skins within multiplayer to customize your avatar's appearance. I mentioned FOBs before, but these are UNSC forward operating bases that the Banished currently control. You now have the ability to liberate these FOBs as you progress through story, help Marine squads in trouble, or other activities that slow down the Banished where you gain Valor. Valor is an in-game currency that allows you to spawn weapons and vehicles from a FOB. This progression system is shared in your menu system, and once you acquire enough Valor, items are automatically unlocked. The FOB also spawns Marines, and once liberated, nearby points of interest such as collectibles, squads in trouble, and high value targets. I covered all of these in previous videos, but long story short, this adds onto gameplay and time played. With these Marines, you can call upon Esparza for a vehicle drop where Marines will automatically hop on to aid you onto your next mission. To me, these are positive things, as sometimes I just want to relax, have a drink, and patrol my so-called UNSC area where I hunt down Banished patrols with Razorback loaded with armed Marines. To me, this is just a lot of fun. I'll create mini missions to myself where it's my duty to stop any reconnaissance Banished patrols from entering the territory that I liberated, or when I'm pushing through, coming prepared with a squad of Marines to help take the heat off me. I want to see and experience more of this, and I can't wait for co-op to release. High value targets give you a little synopsis on why Oni selected these individuals as key targets, and you know what? I like this too. Some of these characters really did some heinous acts, and I want to serve just a little justice. As a reward, you have the ability to now spawn their specialty weapon and your FOB, and these are not run-of-the-mill weapons. They have added effects, where with one example, after you land the shot, the projectile explodes. I don't think Infinite really revolutionized anything, but I do think it reinvented the wheel in some aspects. 343 looked at what other games were doing well, and added it to make it a better overall game, and I see inspiration littered everywhere, and this is a good thing. You leverage what made other games great and improved it within your formula. 343 needed a reboot, and I definitely see it within Infinite. A few things I would have liked to see in the near future that would probably future-proof the game. High value targets. I would like to see more of these as they added Halo lore and interesting characteristics to the mix. Perhaps do quarterly drops where a couple high target values just appear for that quarter before disappearing. If you didn't track them down, they'll come back in the future again. Right now the game is only filled with 15 targets. These new targets can be spawned where previous targets were eliminated to make it easy for them, or newer places where you didn't come across any Banished patrols. Upgradable FOBs. As it stands today, FOBs do not upgrade. Once you unlock it, that's it. Nothing new is really added other than unlocking additional Marines that you could load onto your vehicles. With this, you would have to use Valor. I would also like to see the Valor system updated. Instead of the game auto-unlocking items within FOBs, the player should be able to choose what gear to unlock. Marines should be unlocked by the amount of FOBs you liberate, and this way Valor can be used to unlock gear at FOBs, and FOB upgrades such as walls and turrets. Valor can be earned by the types of targets killed. Think of this as experience points where you can dish out to something that you're saving for. Grunts would provide the smallest Valor as an example, but it would be incentive to go on hunting parties. Why would I want to upgrade FOBs? Well, if you ever played Fallout 4, you'll remember that the camps you controlled occasionally got attacked and you needed to aid them. If you didn't, whatever defenses you added had to be repaired, costing additional resources. I know this can be a double-edged blade, as some didn't like the system, but I loved it. It gave me something to do, and Halo Infinite is not an open sandbox where you go spelunking for resources, where in Fallout this is the case. This would also be so awesome to occasionally defend against a Banished attack, and if you ignore the attack, the FOB falls back into Banished hands. In previous Halo titles, you can jump into the passenger seat or turret and the Marine AI will drive. Even though I don't think the AI wasn't that great, it was still a nice feature to have, where you can operate the turret and even possibly add a waypoint to guide your driver. In Halo 5, squad-based controls were deployed, so this feature is not new, but with an open world, I think it would be useful for the player if they wanted to use it. Custom games may be fully updated at this time of this upload, but the last time I played, it was just not playable. So what do I mean by all that? Well, when you select certain options such as the number of bots, maps, game types, custom games would default to something else. But this was not the case 100% of the time. Sometimes it would say what you selected, and when it worked great. Gameplay was perfect, but it was a frustrating process as you had to reselect the same options multiple times. It's difficult for me to fully describe as I didn't record footage, but take my word. Due to 343 possibly making any updates to this portion, I would not use this as a crutch as I believe they know the issues and are actively working on it. Even though 343 pushed out their release a whole year, the game is still riddled with bugs. I'm playing Infinite through the Series X, so I know it's not a hardware capability issue, but rather defects that 343 still has not ironed out, and I hope they do it soon because I want Infinite to be perfect. When I look at Nintendo, they are the gold standard when it comes out to releasing good quality video games that almost seem bug-free to me. To me, this is amazing how consistently they put the work to ensure I have a smooth experience. I'm not saying all their products are bug-free, but I can't recall a time I had an experience with any of them. And this is becoming the industry standard, and it shouldn't be like that. A common issue that occurs is the inability to spawn vehicles or weapons from a controlled fob. I know you cannot have a vehicle present on a fob platform, but a notification should let me know this. Aside from this, there are instances where I fast travel to a fob with no vehicle already called or weapons pulled from the weapon box and I still can't select them from the menu. Or, when in the middle of neutralizing a high value target, spawn enemies are so far away you cannot complete the mission. And you know what a workaround is? Restarting the game or mission depending on the defect. I mean, why? It's my expectation that 343 will slowly remedy a fix to these defects, and I get it. It can be several things the developers are working on, and some items take priority even if some bug fixes take longer than expected. It's just tough when you're being on the receiving end and you're impacted by this. Are these game-breaking defects? It definitely can be depending on the player, and I see myself as a casual gamer where even I'm experiencing things like this. I mean, I don't go out of my way to break the game. I just want to experience the game as it was intended to be. In its current state, yeah, Infinite has bugs, but look how far MCC has achieved, so I know 343 is committed to fixing and improving the game. Infinite does a lot of things right. Master Chief creating a new relationship with the weapon is beautiful and is needed to kickstart what made Halo to me, Halo. Over the years, Master Chief and Cortana created a wonderful relationship by looking out for one another, and I really adore this. It's refreshing to hear the weapon's voice after clearing an area, or even the little things that the weapon does such as snapping her fingers. There is beauty in this innocence. The open world aspect is deeply welcomed by me, and I know I mentioned this already several times, but I can't wait for co-op, because sharing this experience with friends, or even create new experience with strangers is something I'm definitely looking forward to. What seems like random banish drops keeps me entertained because it gives me a chance to continue to engage the enemy and fight on. Grunts as a comic relief are probably the best it's ever been, and I love listening to all the dialogue from the NPCs. Is Halo Infinite worth it? You betcha it is, and I would repeat it again. So what do you guys think? What was your favorite Halo moment and why? Or was there anything that made you drop the game? Leave it in the comments below and let's talk about it. This is Andrew, and I'll catch you guys at the next video.